So hello and welcome back to our 7th episode of Sagil Talks Too Much. And in today's episode, we have Sir Snehal Talati, aka the AI Agile Guy. And we are back with another AI podcast. So before we get into the video, if you want any trainings related to artificial intelligence, visit boostaro.com and use the code displayed on the screen for flat 10% discount. Now let's get into the video. First of all, I would like to know from you that how would you describe artificial intelligence in your own words?
Yeah, so to me, artificial intelligence is, I actually like to call it machine intelligence. I've been reading a lot on terminology, and I think to me, the fear comes when we say artificial intelligence. But if we were to rephrase and say machine intelligence, I think as humans, we are able to adapt to that better. So for me, machine intelligence is a tool that is built in a way to help us understand how to look at data in such a short amount of time, right? So to be able to, I mean, all AI is basically looking for patterns in data. And to me, I think when I think of artificial intelligence, in my own words, it's like, how can I, in Agile, we say always shorten the feedback loop. So AI to me is a hyper short feedback loop where I can ask or I can build things to give me a quick response, and perhaps even better than a human would be able to do, right?
So, as you have mentioned, it's based on patterns and data. So, can you just elaborate more on this? What do you mean from it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always use the analogy of software, right? So when we were building software, we usually write instructions or, to build that code. So you have an input, a developer develops a set of instructions, and then, you have an output, right? And I actually got this from Cassie Kozyrkov, who I got a chance to meet, but I like the way she puts it, right? And then if you're talking about AI, it's not software because now we have an input, but we're just looking at data's, patterns that are, for example, if you use ChatGPT, that's tons and tons of data, right? So we're just looking for patterns and then come to an output. So it's a little bit different, right? We're not defining the instructions. We are observing those patterns to come to that conclusion.
So, just talking about the process when we input some data, or I mean, when we input some command to the prompt of ChatGPT or any AI tools, and then we get the output, how we are able to get the accurate output. So to know the process, what is going on in the between. So can you tell us about the process that happens when before we get the accurate data?
Yeah, so just to kind of like, simplify it, I'm going to give an extrapolation high level, but think about it as so how ChatGPT works. You prompt a question, and what that prompt actually does is actually gives you the ability to, okay, spotlight where do I need to look in this tons and tons of data that is there. So all models are trained with vast amounts of data. So if I'm prompting, and that's why sometimes the prompt becomes very important to kind of give the focus of where to look, right? So then if I have that ability, if I have the right prompt, it will look in that area for those patterns. And then basically all AI is doing is it's just predicting at a high predictability, right? And putting those words together. It's not like magic that I ask a question and it's giving me the answer. It is actually just actually taking all the predictions and putting it together to form that sentence. And it's doing it that at a very, very high predictability. So that's why we sometimes even, if you've asked ChatGPT, you'll see that it's so confident in the wrong answers as well. Because of the way it is, the way AI works and where these models have been trained.
So now let us talk about agile. And before we talk about agile with artificial intelligence, let's just first understand what is agile.
Yeah, so agile to me is a mindset. It's a way of working. And the manifesto was created, Agile, there was an Agile manifesto created in 2001. And when the manifesto was created, I think what that unlocked is basically how do we work in a hyper collaborative way, right? And really, there's 4 values, 12 principles in the Agile Manifesto, and we've been using that. But lately, I've been thinking that it's time for us to adapt to this new AI coming into the picture, right? How do we now live those principles in a way that we can adapt that mindset of adapting to change? That's all Agile is basically how do you adapt to changes that are coming, and how do you effectively work with one another? How do you collaborate better, right? How do you to me, it's all about that mindset, about and it's difficult, right? It's not like you can follow a framework like Scrum or Kanban. I think the frameworks help you get there, but to unlock that mindset, it takes a lot for an individual. And a lot of I've been in this space for a long time, and I think it's really important to keep practicing. And today, I think AI brings us, much quicker to that unlocking as we're going in this journey.
So, how do you combine agile with artificial intelligence?
Yeah, so this is something that I've been very passionate about lately, and AI and Agile to me is kind of the future state of work. Even though so just like I mentioned, Agile is a mindset. I always say that AI thrives on data and Agile thrives on feedback, and both are systems of continuous learning and growth. And that's kind of how I picture both. It's a symbiotic relationship. And my urge to people is whoever's in the Agile space really needs to learn how to use AI and implement that into their day to day to make that feedback loop much faster. And those who are in the AI community building AI products also need to learn Agile on how we can adapt to these changes quickly, learn new things, and be able to implement that into developing that product or service.
So, talking about the differentiation, let's say, for example, someone who is into artificial intelligence but not in touch with agile, and someone who is into AI with agile, how can we differentiate these two people?
Yeah, so I think the differentiation comes so if you have someone who is in AI and doesn't know about Agile, I think today we live in a world where, Agile to me, that especially the newcomers, the people who have been working, they've already lived in this environment, right? And that's another concept I love to talk about, is that the future generational workforce actually already works in an Agile way, right? There's not like they do traditional project management unless the company has some legacy methods and processes in place. But I think today, a lot of companies are already practicing Agile. So, and also wired, right? The new generation, including my generation, we've lived in this era where rapid feedback, right? We don't have to wait for something. Social media erupted and we get instant kind of feedback. So I think the person who has AI and doesn't know about Agile, it's just that they don't know the nuts and bolts about it, but they actually are living it. It's just that they don't know, right? And to me, those folks who are doing AI and Agile both actually have an upper leg. Because if you understand what agility is and how that is practiced, you can use AI to augment and almost, I think, in my opinion, is amplify and enhance
Okay.
agility to almost a really good point where you can be very effective.
So, how can I adapt agile?
So I will say this, to adapt Agile, right? I think it's one is understanding how can I if any change comes in my day-to-day work, or for example, I'll give you an example. Let's say that you're, working towards a goal, or you're working towards, a transformation of some sort, whether that is a physical transformation, like going to the gym, working out, or whether that is a career transformation, right? Like let's say we want to adapt agility in that. So what does that mean? To me, that means that I have the mindset of understanding how do I adapt to different constraints that come at me, right? It's not easy, right? But you have to be able to retrospect. You should be able to, again, shorten the feedback loop, right? How am I going to get feedback, right? Am I taking the feedback that I'm getting seriously? If I have a coach on my transformation journey, am I getting that feedback and am I putting that into practice to be able to effectively get to the goal, right? So there are certain constructs. To me, that's what Agile is really about, is you taking a time to reflect. And I always say that sometimes it's okay to fail, because if you fail, you learn from it. And the key person, I think, who really knows agility well will know and have the tools and skill set to be able to take that learning and keep moving forward, right? So to me, that's really, really important, especially in today's world where there's so many emerging technologies coming. I mean, today it's AI, tomorrow it can be Web3. After that, it could be the VR, AR space erupting. But how do we adapt to these changes? And to me, that's the most important thing in that aspect.
So you have mentioned tools and skill set. Let us first talk about tools. What are the tools that you think we can use, to learn agile?
So to learn Agile, I actually am a founder of a tool called Agile GPT. So for those of you, who are trying to adapt AI into Agile practices, or maybe you're just brand new and you need some help with it. So Agile GPT will be available soon. There are tools that are, I mean, I've been using, for example, like in the Agile space, we have something called the Daily Scrum. And in the daily scrum, and this is part of the scrum framework, but in the daily scrum, every team starts like 15 minutes, like we're doing a Zoom call, and kind of gives kind of an update of, more than an update, it's just kind of tracking just saying, hey, what did I do yesterday to add value to get to our goal? What am I doing today to get us closer to the goal? And are there any blockers or impediments in the way? And one tool that I've been using from an AI perspective is Spinach.io. I've, a huge fan of them. And I think what I've learned from that is that what they've been able to do is that you can now have an AI Scrum Master in your call, listening to everyone's updates and documenting that, and then also doing integrations with it, right? All through AI. So today, that is so efficient, right, for a team to have. And I think in the future will be even become more efficient for teams to not have to, like, for example, let's say I'm not there for one daily stand-up. Well, it's okay. I will get to know because the AI has condensed the notes, has made the action items, and I know exactly what's going on, right, with my team. So Spinach.io is another one. There are many, many other tools. Another one that I've come across lately is Jetta.ai, which is a whiteboarding AI tool, right? But it's like if you use Mural or Miro, which is a collaborative whiteboard space, now you can use Jetta.ai, and it's almost like, you have a AI embedded into that collaborative space. So let's say you and I are designing, let's say we're trying to prototype or we're trying to come up with ideas on building a business. I can just tell the AI, hey, I need a template for building an AI building an AI business, and it'll generate the canvas, and all within seconds, right? So to me, that's powerful because now I don't need to wait and draw the diagram on the mural board, on the digital board, and then put the stickies there. It all does it for me. So I've saved almost an hour's worth of time to then be able to just do the things I do. And I just met with the owner just a couple of days ago, and I'm pretty excited about that tool too. So that's another tool that people can leverage in the AI agile space.
Okay, so now let us make a journey simple. Let's say, for example, someone who wants to get in the field of artificial intelligence. He have no
Mhm.
idea. He wants to get in the field of artificial intelligence. Where should he go first, or what should he learn?
Absolutely. So I think this question I get all the time in all my talks and all the talks that I have given. There's just so much today in AI. That question of where do I start? And my answer to that question is just start, right? Just start with something. Because the thing is, I feel, and this is my vision kind of thing, is that as we go, there will be numerous number of tools out there. I mean, tools that you can't even imagine that, even today, like if you look at some of these, tool databases, there's tons and tons of tools for a specific purpose. So my thing is, I advise everyone to start somewhere. So let's say I'm brand new to AI. If you have access to ChatGPT, go and just ask ChatGPT the questions of what you want to learn from AI. So just prompt it and say, hey, I'm a student that knows nothing about AI. Please prompt me with questions on how I can learn with AI and we can continue our journey together. Just prompt that. Just start, so that's a starting point. But to me, it's just you have to start somewhere and just pick a tool and start.
Learning AI from AI. Like
Yes.
okay. So
Yes.
now AI has, created a massive impact from when ChatGPT has come. Even people, those who are not non-technical, they have also, got familiar with the tool ChatGPT to make their tasks easier. Looking up to next 5 years or 10 years, where do you see artificial intelligence?
So I think AI is going to do a lot of it's going to again exponential. I think we have, to me, where I envision in the next 5 to 10 years, especially with Apple coming up with Vision Pro glasses, I think it's the embedding of AI and AR VR together. And to me, maybe we're still years ahead. Maybe that's like a 10, 15 years down the road. But I think with AI, what we will see in the next coming years is how do we leverage the, AI agents, like, there's something called the AI agents where you can now instead of prompting AI, you give it a task and AI goes and does everything on its own. So we will see that, but I think at a personal level, I think every single person will have access to AI assistant at some point, right? And now, obviously, rural areas and areas where there's not a lot of technology growth, I think we're going to start seeing some more access to those places as well, because AI allows us. I know there's different platforms working on providing access, right? So we're still trying to face. There are many countries that don't even have internet access still, right? So I think AI actually will help us get there faster to get everyone at least the basics. But I think in the future, what we'll see is we will see AI teams. So we will see basically human AI alliance happening. So in your team, you might have two AI bots. We're seeing that some of it today, right? Like so I'll have some meetings and people are just sending their AI bots, which is Otter.ai, which is a tool for note taking. So I could have actually invited Otter here and it could have recorded the entire conversation and taken notes, right? So I see more of that happening in the future where people will send their AI bots with preloaded questions. So maybe in the future, you don't have to give this podcast, but your AI avatar, Sagil, will come and give this podcast and give you the recording and what you need. So to me, I think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to see a lot of use cases with video. Today, it's all text and images that have gotten a lot of popularity, but we're going to start seeing people leverage AI and video together to be able to learn. So I think the opportunities are endless, and I think people should definitely start. If you have the access, start with something and just keep learning. The learning curve is just there's no end to it.
How about combining artificial intelligence with robots?
Robots. Yeah, no, that's a good one too. I'm hoping that happens, so then I don't have to do, the laundry and whatnot. I can get AI to do that for me. And I think we're close. I think there are companies that are working on it as we speak, right? Innovation is at the highest level possible today. And I think to me, AI and robots is going to be an augmentation of what we do. So there's a fear, right? That people are saying that, oh, robots will take over my job or robots will take over humans. To me, I don't think that's possible. That's not the way how AI will work. I mean, yes, there's a black box and there are certain things we don't know, but I think especially Jeffrey, the godfather of AI, had just a couple of months ago had released that article that there is a black box, right? Jeffrey Hinton, I believe is his name. And he came out and said openly that there is a black box. So to me is, okay, yes, there's a black box, but I don't think that's the only aim that we should fear. Because if we instigate fear in ourselves, we'll be less, susceptible to use that tool or use AI in our day to day. So that's why I said, instead of calling it artificial intelligence, call it machine intelligence, right? It's not as threatening when you say machine intelligence. So to me, I think it's important that, again, people learn, people use, and with robots coming on board, we will have, you will have, maybe in the next 10 years, you will have a robot in your house. Just like you had, Google Alexa and Siri, Google Voice, right? The Google Home device in your house. Same thing, you'll have a robot. So basically, I see all of those voice assistants getting upgraded to some sort of robot, right? So you could expect that, and that's kind of what I see as a visionary, maybe in the next 10 years.
So you mean Alexas and Alexa with two hands, two legs moving around my house?
Yeah, it could be that, or it could be like your, a vacuum, like the Roomba,
Okay.
right? Which is on a wheel. I mean, so I don't know if it'll have like human-like features, but it'll be something where you can, put in your house and it'll roam around, right? But it now can move. It has camera, so it can see. Just like, and it can use AI to see what objects it's looking at, right? So I think there's a lot of growth in that space too, and a lot of creativity to be unlocked. I mean, time will tell, but I feel pretty confident that we're going to see something that will be adapted into everyone's day to day.
Okay. So far, we have discussed about all the benefits, all the advantages of artificial intelligence. What are the disadvantages?
Yeah, I think the disadvantages is something that we all have to be responsible, right? So obviously data security and privacy concerns. There's so much data that's out there. How these models are trained, right? In the US, especially, all of these big companies like OpenAI, Claude, they're all working on figuring out how to bring some governance to these models, right? And regulations, because that's important. We don't want any bad players to take this direction in the wrong way, and if it does, it could be very, very detrimental. So to me, I always start with that, is that whenever you're using any AI, don't copy paste anything, right? Read it, use your human intelligence, otherwise it could go away. Just like we're so glued to social media that every time you pick up your phone, your brain is wired that you just want to swipe up, right? And so you don't want to do that with AI, because if you keep relying on AI, it'll come to a point where your human intelligence won't kick in. And you will just think that you need AI to be effective. So to me, it's really important to consider behavioral changes when using AI, also being responsible, that you're just not dependent on it at all times, right? Like, what happens if
So
ChatGPT just dies?
artificial intelligence works on data. The more data we feed in, the better answers we get, the more accurate answers we get. But is there any data security concern with our data to artificial intelligence?
Absolutely, right? The concern is there. And the tools that I build, I always say, don't share anything that you don't want to share. But granted, with the world that we live in, especially in certain countries, it feels like your data is already out there, right? There is something that is out there. If I were to even search, Sagil in the using perplexity.ai, I can at least get get some information if whatever you shared, right? So 100%, I think it's important to be, responsible. Don't share anything that you don't want to share.
So any advices to newbies coming into artificial intelligence?
My advice is don't be afraid, be bold, be creative, right? And take this opportunity to learn, and just start. That's it. Just start with something. There's a buzz, whatever you have access to, just start consuming that information. And you're still early. For those who are not have joined the AI journey yet, you're still pretty early. I mean, there's going to be more that's happening than just this generative AI piece. So again, you'll still be an early adopter if you start now.
Okay, so thank you so much for this amazing time. You have shared a lot of things, and I'm sure that audience is going to learn something new today. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
this valuable time, and we hope to do this again because artificial intelligence is a huge topic and everything cannot be covered in a single video.
Thank you so much, Sajil. And I will actually put in, if it's okay with you, if you visit www.boostaro.com, which is my
Okay.
company, we do trainings. So if you want to start with Agile and AI trainings, and we'll give 20% discount if you use the promo code Sajil Babu. So if anyone's interested, if any of your listeners are interested, I'm more than happy to have them join our classes.
Okay, so anyone who is interested, I'll be putting the link in the description. You can go and check it out.
Awesome.